Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a great day. Let's take another look here at SUI, see what's going on. This previous liquidation range has been fully swept, so we can remove that and just kind of recognize that we didn't have a ton of confluence at this 0.618 fib level, so that's why it didn't work out so well. I mean, most of it was mainly based on the war efforts over the weekend, the whole market kind of dumping and Bitcoin dominance going straight up. But for the most part, I need to kind of emphasize and reiterate, if you're watching, Elliott wave theorists or people that are super just reliant on fib levels, while they have some coincidental benefit, they're not always that helpful unless there's other areas of confluence. And there wasn't a lot there at that level, so that's half the reason why it didn't hold very well. Once more, a lot of things need to kind of come together to give you an informed decision instead of just kind of shooting from the hip and hoping, looking at one thing and thinking how awesome it is. Either way, that's kind of where we're at there. Overall, too, want to say thank you to my community as well. We got some nice profits on our Bitcoin shorts, 45% and 32%. Those were trades from a couple weeks ago, though. So honestly, some folks might have closed early on profit. It wasn't like a super substantial win, but at this point, all of our longs are currently in good shape, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now let's take a look at the back end liquidation data and recognize that 230 to 220 is kind of that local area and just a heavy concentration at 228. So if we do see a pullback, one more sweep at that lower area of liquidation would make sense, but there's so much liquidation that occurred here recently that either longs are gun shy by now, or it's just that natural capitulation that needs to happen. Whereas we're starting to see a shift in momentum, less shorts in the market. They're either getting squeezed out or finally closing their trades in profit. Either way you look at it, we still have more shorts in the market right now, so it's best to presume the price may continue lower. Open interest does kind of imply that $2.90 to $3 is that heavier area of resistance, but between now and then, there's not like a ton of open interest here locally. Why don't we actually take a look at the last 7 days just to kind of do our due diligence here and see roughly where we're at here. So in the last 7 days of trading, we can see 255 and 265 are the two heaviest concentrations of volume or open interest, basically. That's going to be exit liquidity when we come to that level. That's why we're seeing slowing pressure right now at 250. So we hit 265, you can expect another resistance wall there at that point. So taking a look at the daily, the easy way to understand it here is that we are not in good shape. All coins look terrible right now, and I wouldn't say there's little reason to take a long, but it's just considered high risk if you do, okay? Now, I do personally think that a lot of CME gaps are going to get filled, like Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. Those ones do have more potential to continue higher up. But for right now, SUI doesn't have like a ton of incentive to buy this dip. Now, there is some confluence here, of course, at 225. You kind of zoom out. In fact, let's see what the macro tells us here for open interest or points of control. If we zoom out just enough here within the last, this is roughly last almost just a 1 year worth of trading, we see the most amount of volume at 225. So that's a good consideration for a long and or just a good area of dollar cost average. If we do end up seeing that here again, I'm going to consider adding to my spot bag at that level, okay? So that just macro points of control are helpful and beneficial in letting us know that we have good potential for resilience or bouncing pressure at that point. Either way, we are at 30 on the RSI, or just kind of hitting that level. This is an overextension of the downside. We're likely to see a recovery here soon, just based on the simple fact that we are, once again, massively overextended. We're about 3 days of overextension. So we've basically been moving in the downward direction for 13 days. That is quite a lot of continuation, okay? That has to bottom out, has to hit a certain point of shift in momentum. And right here, once more, a lot of confluence at 225. So just be mindful of 225 to 230 range. That would maybe be a good consideration for a long if we see that. I'm not proposing we're going to see that, but if the war efforts continue to escalate and just things get ridiculous, Bitcoin goes back down to the five figures instead of 6 figures, there's a good chance we're going to see something like that. All that being said, we got some resistance above us at 260 to 265 based on open interest, and the 4-hour time frame, unlike other coins, is not looking super strong here. We're kind of capitulating on our stochastic RSI. We're above our moving average, which is all well and good, but that doesn't really help us too much. Just because we have a MACD convergence doesn't mean you want to take a trade. So the truth is we really want to reclaim that 260 or higher level before you can take a trade with confidence. And I would say that Bitcoin would also need to be at the 102 to 104K range, preferably 105 or higher. That's mostly that shift in momentum we're going to see if Bitcoin can reclaim that level. Right now, ridiculous amount of resistance at that level. So I would just be cautious and careful taking longs into it. If you do, just make sure that you watch them kind of close. I do, full disclosure, have a Bitcoin long and Ethereum long open right now. Both are a little bit in the red here so far because we're seeing that pullback, but they both have a lot of reasons and incentive to go up in the short term. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. Why don't you comment below? Let me know. And if you do want to join our Trading Academy community or signals group, cryptocash.tech is a site link down below. I do recommend, however, at the very least, trade Bitunix. No KYC or VPN required. These guys are phenomenal. They've been excellent to us. This is our more recent campaign that just finished over the weekend, but we'll have a new one soon. Every time you use my link to register, you'll be automatically qualified for that. Okay, last but not least, Twitter, Telegram, and Discord help us grow the channels and just keep being an awesome part of my life. I thank you so much for being wonderful. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.